Hi, Sabrina Kiddo. And here we have today Tamara Springer with your documentary.
More than Santa Baby.
Thank you. So, how are you today?
Good, very good. I'm here in New York City for the Big Apple Film Festival. More than Santa Baby is screening on Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Lovely. I have so many questions. Well, first and foremost, and congratulations for your father, and happy Veterans Day to him for Dr. Philip Springer.
Yes, thank
The
you.
composer of Santa Baby. We all, know that song, growing up and all that. So, and the holidays are just coming in, so it's just the perfect timing. So, what was the process of obtaining the magical vintage footage of your father's performances?
Well, I he had saved an enormous amount of material. I think everything he ever did. He had a house full of VHS tapes, DVDs, lots of archival material, sheet music, newspaper magazines, just anything, you name it, he had it. Um, and that was, a lot of how I put the film together was really going through everything he had in his house
How
from
long,
years of his career, years and years.
how long did that take?
The film from start to finish took me 2.5 years. I'd say the first year it was sort of slow. Like I worked on it once a week or every couple weeks with the first editor and put together a rough, very rough assembly cut. And then I switched editors, and that was a filmmaker friend of mine, and he sort of took that first rough cut, moved things around a little bit, shortened it a little bit, and put it in a form in a layout where I could see what the film needed. And it was about a year after that I finished it. And I finished it with the editing house Cut and Run, which thankfully is owned by a very good friend of mine. It's a world class editing house, and I worked with one of their editors. And about 2.5 years that whole process.
Oh, wow. Has your father seen it?
He did see it. He didn't want to see it for a while because he didn't want to relive all of that part of his life. I think he felt it was going to be too emotional for him. But one day he changed his mind, and I ran home, got my iPad, came back because, well, he's 99 now. He was 98 then, and you do things right away. And he watched it glued to the screen. And when he finished, he said, his nickname for me is Tip. He said, Tip. He said, "This is astounding. How did you do this?" So I felt, like that was quite the blessing on it.
Oh, so do you have anything else that you would like to share about your father, as about growing up, his music, his
Well,
lifestyle?
yeah, I mean, I one of the reasons I did this film is because even though he is best known for Santa Baby, his worldwide Christmas standard that he wrote with Joan Javits in 1953, he has a vast catalog of compositions in all idioms of music. I grew up listening to the most beautiful melodies and the most beautiful songs. There were always singers at our house and doing recordings and, preparing for a show that he was producing. I also grew up with a classical concert every single day. And I wanted to share Beyond the Christmas Song with the world. I felt like his story is a walk through music history. It's something that music aficionados and history aficionados probably want to know about. It has iconic artists of the golden era along the way and of today. And it's really a walk through history that I wanted to share, in addition to wanting to share his beautiful music that the world doesn't know.
That's just amazing. His music is very touching. Just when I watched the documentary, I just felt very emotional. There's like it felt very warming, love. It's just so many emotions all at the same time. So I would like to ask, like, what does his music mean to you? What do you feel? What are your thoughts when you listen to him playing the piano?
Well, I think what you said about, you experienced a lot of different emotions during the film. I just want to comment on that because that is so important to me, that you connected to all the various things that happened throughout the story, throughout his life. and it really is a multi-layered story. And I think it hopefully it connects to people on one level or another of the layers of the story. So I am just so happy that you said that. And as far as what his music means to me, it's really that is who he is, that is what he is. And I say something in the film at the end of the film about that, which I won't repeat now because I don't want to spoil it. But he is basically music. That's what he is. He's never done anything else in his life. I don't think he ever really could, even though he's a highly intelligent man. Um, so connecting with his music is really connecting with him. Understanding his various compositions is a glimpse into who he is as a person in his, various stages of his life, various aspects of his life. So it's really the way to connect with him, and therefore, as a daughter, it's extraordinarily meaningful and important.
Would you say that music is a form of communication, that that's how your emotions, what you think and you feel, that's how you project what, your communication to you, to others around the world?
I do think so. I mean, I think that both, and it goes sort of in different ways. Some people can really only express an emotion or feel an emotion when they are listening to a certain song or a certain type of music, or they use, let's say, for example, classical music to relax every day. That's how they reach their feeling of inner peace. Sometimes people, will send a song to somebody to express a feeling towards them, something that might be difficult to express actually in words, because communication can be really challenging and difficult, and it can be hard to be vulnerable in that way, but you could send a song that says what you want to say. So music is an extremely powerful form of communication in many different ways.
I totally agree because I grew up playing the piano, stopped playing it, of course, when, but I will say that when I watch the documentary, I'm now inspired to go back and, uh, just tinker with it again. It's one of those where it's like you said, there's a connection. It's your emotions. You can't express in words, but when you're playing the music, it just all comes together. It's like another perspective. I also wanted to ask that, since the holidays are coming up, when you hear that song, Santa Baby, what comes through your mind? What's the first image that pops in your mind?
Well, I think it's just a feeling of happiness, really, and it's kind of like having a secret, because if I'm in Macy's or a store or somewhere and anywhere in Hawaii and it starts playing, I feel like I've got this awesome secret, that my father is the composer and I know the story behind it. And it's, a huge part of our family and our family legacy. So I feel happy. And I think the images are really just what I'm seeing at the moment. But it's just extraordinarily fun to be pretty much anywhere in the world and hear it playing everywhere you go in the holiday season. It's just a really cool thing.
Do you have any holiday traditions?
Well, as the writers of many Christmas standards were Jewish. So, we don't celebrate Christmas in a traditional way. However, Christmas is absolutely my favorite holiday, and I think it's our family's favorite holiday. So, our traditions are really just, celebrating with family and friends, maybe who do celebrate Christmas in a formal way. One of my best friends, I would always go to her family's Christmas party. And for many, many years, my dad was always playing the piano at their Christmas party. And I have some footage of that actually in the film. It's a very little bit part where he's talking about the Gershwin brothers. I don't know if you caught that, but that scene, and we're not, we're hearing a voiceover at that time, but he's actually playing at a Christmas party in that scene. So I would say, actually, now that I think about it, that was a Christmas tradition for a long time.
That was beautiful. It's one of those where it just takes you back in time. Your footage is amazing. It's gorgeous. Even though it's not from my time, but it just transports me there. It's like, it's like, wow, it's beautiful. And it's like, just seeing the way of life too. It's like it's not just Santa Baby, but his music, his passion. It's just amazing. It's just like again, words can't even describe that. It's all music. It's the feeling. It's beautiful. So now in today's time, because music has changed, and he did mention about because of rock and roll, the Beatles.
Yes.
Um, and then of course he did the synthesizer. He got his PhD at UCLA. I think that's marvelous. That's a huge accomplishment. Dr. Springer, oh, amazing. Hats off to you. So how do you get now? How do you pass on that passion? The like really the music onto the next generation. How do you describe it to them? How do you get them to appreciate? Because when it comes to music appreciation, I took that in college. It's now like I'm watching this documentary. It's a total different meaning now. So how do you now for this new generation? How do how do you get them together and to really appreciate what music is?
Well, I think you raise a really important point that the documentary really is a step back in time through music history, through a different era and many different eras along the way in music history and, development of different genres. And you're right. Music today is so, so different. And I know the lyricists of my dad's era would roll over in their graves if they hear all the F bombs and, everything in music today like that probably would not be too pleasing to them. And I can say I don't know exactly the answer to your question. How do you get the interest? But what I can say is that um, when I was making this documentary and thinking about the target audience, I thought, well, definitely music aficionados, people interested in history, people a little bit older. But I had a friend, 32 years old, at the premiere in June at Dances with Films, and she came out of that film. She said, Tamar, there is something for everybody in this film. It screened in Dallas, and I had a 20 something friend there who brought a whole gaggle of these 20 somethings. These kids completely loved it, related to it. One of them actually knew the music. So I'm hoping that if music people end up seeing this film and maybe other films like it that honor the vintage eras and the eras of the past and the just more sort of graceful lyrics and music, that will bring interest to some of the newer generation. And I do think there's a whole movement of everything old is new again and honoring a lot of old Hollywood. We see that a lot on Instagram. I connect with as many of those pages as I can that, they're honoring all these beautiful golden era stars, many of them who are in this film, in this story. Judy Garland, Elvis Presley, of course, icon forever, Frank Sinatra, Aretha Franklin, all these people, and I'm hoping just by interest in all of that vintage history, it will also bring interest to the old time music that, you're referring to and that, in the story we see. So yeah, I'm hopeful for that.
Absolutely. That's the perfect example. Lead by example, bring them in. And I hope I'm also very hopeful as well. I do have another question that, because you posted on your Facebook when he played Moonlight Sonata from Beethoven. Can you take us back to that?
Yes. So it was 2020, so about 5 years ago, and my dad, uh, it was the night before my birthday, and he'd always on his birthday and my birthday, and pretty much every day of the year, by the way. But it was like the birthdays we would do a special recording. So it was the night before my birthday, and I said, Dad, I'd like you to play something for me. And there was nothing planned about it. He sat down and I just had my phone and he played Beethoven, the first movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, one of the most famous pieces of music in the world. And I posted it on my Facebook page, as I always do with the birthday recordings, either mine or his, like I said. And I forwarded it to one Beethoven group on Facebook. That group had about 10,000 members or so, 14,000 maybe at the most. And so not a huge group. From that one share, it went viral worldwide. well over 30 million views. It brought inquiries and attention from press all over the world interested in him, in this piece, in this music. Classic FM picked it up, did a beautiful article on it. He won a Webby Award for it. He won several World Classical Music Awards for it. And the Webby Awards, by the way, I went and represented him and accepted on his behalf. That was fun. I mean, that is an amazing organization, and they do an incredible ceremony at Cipriani Wall Street. They're really nice people too. I've submitted a few things this year, so I'd love to do it again. Anyway, the Moonlight Sonata brought so much recognition and attention to my father in a way that was completely unexpected. It was an incredible blessing in his life.
And I'm gonna say I'm even holding back my tears because when I saw that in your documentary, yeah, it trickled. It's just again, it's you can't say it in words. It's this that feeling, the emotion. And did you ever imagine that it would be this, go worldwide viral?
I had no idea. I had no idea. I was just posting my usual birthday video, and because it was the most clean version of first movement I've ever seen. I thought, well, Beethoven people will be interested in it, and they were, but so was the whole entire world. And it was during the pandemic, and it was at a time where it was a very, very rough period for everybody in the world. And this was 5 minutes of beauty and peace. And I do think the timing probably had something to do with it because the entire world needed those 5 minutes.
I absolutely agree with you, Tamar, sorry. But I'm just like getting a little emotional here myself right now. So, in ending this, what would you like to spread right now as far as your documentary, what your future plans are?
The documentary is screening, and there's several screenings upcoming this week and in December. People can follow at Santa Baby Composer on Instagram. The documentary is Oscar qualified for Best Documentary Short, so it is submitted for that. And I'm dreaming big, like my father did. So we'll see. I'm promoting it the best way I can. And we'll see what happens. And ultimately, we'll hopefully it'll land on a screening platform. It's also an incredible film for a holiday event. This weekend in Alabama, a friend of mine is rented a movie theater, and she's hosting a screening and a Q&A, and that is her corporate holiday events for her clients in her business. And I loved that. So I'm thinking that's another thing I think I would like to be able to, hopefully retain the rights to do if it does end up on a streaming service, because it is a great holiday, the obvious tie into the holidays, even though it's about more than Santa Baby, obviously. So those are some of the things that, I'm working on for it.
Absolutely. And I wish you the best. I think it is. It's going to be a hit. And I'm looking forward to it as well, especially during, the holidays coming up. And I actually be going to spend my Christmas time in New York City. So I'll be there.
That's a
So I'm
great.
going to go to the iconic place where he wrote music, he started composing. So I'm going to go there. I know exactly where it's at. So I'm like, yep, I'm looking forward to that. Again, thank you so much. Happy holidays. Tell your father happy Veterans Day because that's amazing. Again, he's just an amazing man. Wow. How lucky are you?
Thank you so much, and thank you for your interest in the film and your response to the film. It's so beautiful and moving and encouraging to me. Thank you so much.